Welcome back.
Yep.
We're back to talk about our top third moment. And
Who do you want to go first?
yeah, you can. We'll just alternate it, everyone.
Alright, my number three moment. Another game genre I hardly ever touch. But Need for Speed Most Wanted. Not the biggest on racing, except if it's, well, Mario Kart-ish like. Not into realistic racers, really.
Mm.
I don't know what compelled me to pick this up on the PS2 when it came out. My cousin had it, we played it a bit, and I don't know. But this particular memory comes when me and one of my friends, we pretty much played through this game together. And, well, I did all the races, and he pretty much liked escaping from the cops.
Oh, that's cool. So you had the two styles that you were able to do.
Oh, yeah. Well, after you do each race, you automatically gotta go. Instead of just the race stopping, and
Yeah, I remember that.
it like goes right into your wherever you're at in the game world, and you gotta evade the cops after a lot of the races.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because I used to have that. Yeah, I'm not into the racing either. Really, when I get those games, I don't know. I end up just driving around usually. Uh, I don't know what it is about the racing. I never really get into it.
Yeah,
I did have fun escaping from the cops. That was pretty fun.
yeah. Anyways, there was a specific car that we built up, and I don't know, it just became one of our favorite cars. It was the Toyota Supra.
Hmm.
And I don't know, once we built it up, it was really fast. I mean, after we built it up, when police made roadblocks, I mean, because I think each time you drive near a policeman or right past him or through a roadblock, it does kind of a slow-mo thing, I think.
Uh huh.
Or
Yeah, I think that's right.
actually,
Where it does kind of like a cinematic type thing.
yeah, but I mean, I know in races you could also have this button where you can slow down time for a brief second to straighten out where you're going.
Hmm.
But anyways, it's just this small tiny car that goes, well, it was really fast in my eyes, just like plowed through these big heavy police jeeps or SUVs and such, and just it was pretty awesome.
Hmm.
And we gave it the nickname the Super Supra,
That's awesome.
which we both know what it's from when we bring it up to this day.
Hmm.
And we both, and my friend, he hates racing games, but which it says something when he actually enjoyed this game.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And Honestly, from what I hear, a lot of people are saying this was the last great Need for Speed game.
Yeah, I had one of the newer ones, and yeah, I do think they went downhill. I don't know. I have my favorite. I always enjoyed Underground too.
Yeah, you was big on customization, right?
Yeah,
And
I did like that.
that's honestly all Underground 2 was for the most part. I mean,
True.
when I last played, I mean, I beat it fairly easily, like all the races.
Hmm.
It was just, it seemed really easy and just maybe that's what they were going for, easy so people can unlock and customize the cars the way they want it.
That could have been.
I don't know, but
I don't know. That was my favorite.
now I'm not gonna go really in depth, but apparently Underground 2, and Most Wanted are linked somehow story wise, I guess, that I read from somewhere.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
someone mentioned it on a message board and explained it. I guess they supposedly are kind of take place after one another,
Huh. I did not know that.
but don't quote me on that. I'm not gonna say it's fact or not because it could just be another fanfic wiki post or something.
Yeah, that's true. If that is true, though, that's interesting. Huh.
And the spotlight is yours.
Well, uh, my number four is
Your number three.
yeah, number three. That one. My number three is two games that I remember really well. I don't. I remember playing them a lot. That's what I remember really well. I don't really remember the games very well, but it was Jack and Daxter and Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. I bundled these ones together because I remember them being a lot alike. But I just remember playing these games all the time. I loved in Jack and Daxter. I don't remember if it was Jack and Daxter the first one. It was Jack and Daxter 1, 2, or 3. Um, but I remember there was just this one level that I couldn't beat, but I tried so hard. I spent so much time. It was like a racing time trial level. And it was like in the floating cars and you had to dodge like bombs or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember playing that a lot. And I remember I I do think I beat it at one point and I did finish the game. But I know I've beat Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. And I remember that game really well because I always thought it was cool, the new boomerangs you got.
Yeah.
I loved like the weapon upgrades.
Right.
They were, I don't know, I thought they were fantastic in that game because they were all unique and they were something I didn't think of.
Right.
It was all every one that you got was something that is pretty out there and kind of wacky or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just remember a lot of good times with those two.
Nice. I've never played a Jack and Dexter,
Oh, really?
and only time I've played or seen,
Ty the Tasmanian Tiger?
yeah, that name, was over at your house actually.
Was it?
Yeah, and that's about my experience with it.
I remember Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. I remember when I got it. I went to the store. Me and my mom were walking around the store, and I remember I was kind of little, but I was looking at games and stuff, and me and my mom were looking at games together, and I thought it looked good. My mom thought it looked good, so we got it. And I remember we played through it together.
That's that's cool.
Yeah, it was one of those memories where you don't expect your mom to play a game with your mom through it, but it was one of those really fun memories.
I have something similar, but you'll have to wait till the next one.
Nice. Yep,
I
that's mine.
Yeah, I can't really add to that because lack of experience here.
Well, like we said, we all have our own moments.
Right. Oh boy. That means we're gonna jump into this next segment, which if there's something you haven't heard about, it's probably this.
That very true. Yeah, it was. You had to be in a very specific place at a specific time to know about this.
Okay, so this is way back before like Twitch TV and YouTube. I say that because this kind of has some similarities to these type of medias on the internet now.
That is true. Yeah.
And oh boy, did you want to open up with it since you're originally the one that told me about this?
Sure. Okay. The name of this is the Satellaview. And the reason you've probably never heard of it is because it was never released outside of Japan. It's not the first online kind of peripheral for a game or a game console, but it's so unique. So it's called the Satellaview, or the BSX, and that's for broadcast satellite. The X is just to sound cool, I guess. But it was developed for the Super Famicom
Yeah.
in 1995.
Yeah.
And it was active for only 5 years.
Which I like how you say only. 5 years was actually pretty good.
It is a good run for it.
I mean, think about it. Have something internet-wise involved with the Super Famicom. I mean, did the Super Nintendo even have a port for this?
Yes, it did have an expansion port at the bottom that this system had to plug in. Okay, the system, you had to plug it into the bottom.
Right.
And you had to, it's very complicated. It ran off of not regular internet like you'd think. In Japan, they had a satellite radio service.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the most interesting part, is it was a radio service that this connected to, called Saint Giga. Now, in order to use this, you had to have a subscription to Saint Giga. You had to have a BS
cartridge.
Not even that. You had to have a decoder, is what it was. On top of this, the decoder was just for the radio service.
Right.
What it did was decoded the satellite waves into data. And you had to have that. Then you had to have the Satellaview. You ran your satellite or whatever to this decoder, to the Satellaview, which was connected to your Super Nintendo. And then that had an extra cartridge that you had to put in called the BSX, which acted as the operating system. Then it went to your TV.
Wow.
Yes. It, and it was very costly. I think that's probably why it didn't get as many people, but
Right.
it actually had a pretty good following.
Right.
So what it did was you would have certain broadcast times. It wasn't like the internet now when you can go on it whenever and download whenever.
Yeah.
You had to be on at certain times, and it was like programs on a TV. You had to be there at a certain time. And when you did, you had to get on the BSX cartridge and go to the thing, and then you could download it. And what you could download were like games and data for games, which is I'll get into that later,
Okay.
or digital magazines.
Oh, so like pictures and stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
these are all that you could. That's what I think so interesting about it. Is you could get all this stuff. It had to be at certain times, and there's another thing that was a another broadcast type thing where you didn't just download the game, but you had to play the game at the certain time. And they did this most famously with Legend of Zelda. Uh, it was like a program that you played during that time, and they had like voiceovers and stuff for the characters that played during your game.
Yeah.
So it had actual orchestrated music and voiceovers and was like a play or whatever in the game, which was, I don't know, that had to have been awesome.
Right.
The sad thing is we can't experience it now, but you can look up videos. They do have videos on YouTube of people who were smart enough back then to record it on VHS.
Wow.
The only sad part is we don't know Japanese.
Well, yeah.
At least I don't.
I'm sure some of you do out there, so have at it.
I bet it will be a good time. But yeah, this system that, I mean, I wish we would have known about. I wish we would have had that, you know?
Right. So the stuff you downloaded, did
Yes.
it did it store or did it disappear after time ran out?
It did store. And another thing that you could buy, the BSX cartridge is a lot like a Super Game Boy cartridge. You know what I'm talking about?
Right, yeah.
That's what it looked like, and it had an extra port on the top, and you could buy memory for it.
Oh,
Yeah, you could buy an 8 megabit memory pack that plugged into the top,
sweet.
and you could download games. And the only way to legitimately play them is to find, like on eBay or something, memory packs that still have those games downloaded on them. And they're very rare because
Nice.
Nintendo hasn't released these games. The
Right,
games were made specific for this. So they're games that you've never heard of.
right. And a lot of the times it was pretty much like ROM hacks, right? I guess you could call them.
Yeah.
Some of them, anyways.
Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, a lot of them were games that kind of already came out or whatever. They had already been out. And I mean, you can play them. You can play them. You have to. They have them as ROMs online that you can play.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to get it to work, personally, but you can play them.
see, I knew there was a reason why I let you lead this topic.
I don't remember where I originally heard about it from, but I remember once I heard about it, I was intrigued enough to where I looked up everything about it. Because it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that you gotta know is this was not an online service. It You could get data, but you couldn't send data. So unlike services now, or like online services with the Dreamcast or the PS2 could get online.
Yeah.
I mean, consoles did it while they were doing this.
Right.
Uh, I think that's part of the reason it didn't take off.
Yeah.
But it wasn't an online service, which I think makes it even more unique.
Right.
Not a lot of services were like that. It's weird to think of a service that you only get what they give you.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
you mind if I steer you away from this for a second?
Yeah, that's fine.
Um, I was looking at our notes here, and was it says this came out after the failed Sony CD drive for SNES? Was that kind of like the Sega CD?
Yes. That was the peripheral that Sony was gonna make.
Yeah.
That had failed prior to this. So Nintendo was trying to find something to be innovative with.
Yeah.
They were trying to be ahead of the game, and I think that's one of the reasons they started this.
Interesting.
It is. So, another interesting thing with when I said about the data that you could download, right?
Right.
I'm not sure if it was the first to do this or not, but some games, Super Nintendo games or Super Famicom games, mind you, you could download pretty much DLC. You could download.
So, would Super Famicom games like go into the BS cartridge?
No,
So,
actually,
so what exactly do you mean by DLC? Like,
you could the Satellaview itself had some memory in it,
right?
and what it did was it downloaded like the extra data, say extra characters or costumes or whatever,
Yeah.
or even some games had extra levels that you downloaded in.
Oh, so the Satellaview connected to the Super Nintendo, when you put it in a game, it like read that game and then
Yes,
added.
it did.
So was it like well, outside the subscription, was it like free DLC?
Yes. Outside of the subscription and everything you had to buy for it, everything was free.
Hmm.
Yes. You just had to catch it at the right time. All the games that you downloaded, free. All the magazines, free. Data, free.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
All you had to do was stay up on your monthly subscription.
And yet today Nintendo doesn't even well, they have Virtual Console, but they don't really do DLC, do they?
Not that I know of.
That's kind of funny how
They try to be innovative.
and yet they're not keeping up with the game today.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Which
I mean,
I'm not trying to put down Nintendo or anything. I'm just speaking from
no, not
it's
at all.
kind of ironic in a way.
It is. No, not at all. I mean, Nintendo is fantastic. They put out great games and they've got, sound consoles.
Right, yeah.
But when Xbox 360 came out and PS3 came out, and the Wii came out,
The world found out about this type of stuff, and
they they found out about online play, really mass online play with like the 360 and stuff.
right.
And the Wii kind of tried it, but I think it kind of failed. Having to put in someone else's like friend code.
Yeah, we're getting kind of sidetracked, but yeah, I agree. And I think 90% of Nintendo fans agree.
Probably.
Constantly, I see people saying, get rid of the friend codes.
I, I mean, it's sorry to get off
I
topic,
mean,
but
they they did have a voice chat thing, I think, that was kind of like a sensor you set down somewhere, I think.
hmm,
Wasn't it? I thought they had like a voice chat communication thing at one point for the Wii.
yeah, I think they did. Yeah, I do remember that where you had to have it was like an extra peripheral or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't know. I think they try to be ahead of the times, but they're not quite with current times.
I think
It, but
maybe.
the
Oh,
same is to go with this, with the Satellaview. They were kind of trying to go ahead of the time, but not quite with the time.
yeah.
Other consoles were online, yet they were doing this. And this was around the same time that the N64 came out.
Yeah.
So,
Well, N64 came out in 96, I think? 96 or 97.
a year or two after this.
Yeah.
It really says something if the Super Famicom, you know,
Can do that.
up till the 2000s
Yeah.
when it had a 64-bit console competing with it, you know?
Oh my gosh. Sega tried to be innovated. They had their Sega Genesis last a long time too, but for a different reason. Sega CD, Sega 32X.
32X. There's only so much you can do to one console before you get this Frankenstein mess of power cords.
I know we're getting off topic, but that's kind of the fun of this. We started talking about a Nintendo add-on and turned to Nintendo, and I mean, it's all relative, I guess, but yeah.
It all plays off each other. But yes, so like when I was saying how it had a pretty good following,
Yeah,
it hit its peak in 1997,
right.
which is probably around the time the N64 hit its peak with
Now, it was no like 10 million subscribers like World of Warcraft.
yeah, but 116,000 people
Right.
paying monthly into this, downloading games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic. And, especially since it was only Japan.
Right.
It wasn't anywhere else.
Right. Japan is pretty big though. Like,
Yeah, they do have a lot of people.
I mean,
They,
heck, half of the stuff around the world is made in Japan.
that's true. I mean, what? So much percentage of the population in the world is just Japan. I mean, they have a lot of people. But it's still saying something that, They had 116,000 committed subscribers.
So why? Trying to legitly think, why would they not bring this out of the Japan country?
So they had this service through the Japan satellite radio Saint Giga.
Right?
Now, Saint Giga controlled a lot of this service. Nintendo put the games, Saint Giga controlled when it went out, how it went out, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, they were talking they did Nintendo did want to take this out of Japan. They did want it to go everywhere. Saint Giga didn't want that. They were afraid that everything was going to demand them to change, demand them to do their not what they wanted to do. Other companies in like the US and stuff. So that's part of the reason why it went away is Nintendo and Saint Giga had this kind of feud, I guess.
Yeah.
Which ended up with Nintendo cutting off support for the Satellaview in 1999.
It's I don't know if you might have caught this, but is Saint Giga still around?
No, it is not.
Just was wondering.
Yes, I know. That's what I thought when I looked it up. So I was like, did they do the right thing? I don't know if they did.
Well, I mean, Saint Giga was kind of right to fear that.
Yeah, I mean it's right to hold your boundaries and to hold your
'Cause
belief.
look, well, I guess I can't really compare it, but looking at all the DLC nowadays and such, all the developers are just kind of doing their own thing with like Microsoft and Sony just taking their cut.
That's true.
And from the sound of things, Saint Giga would did not want that to happen with them.
Hmm.
Or maybe
Yeah,
I'm just viewing it kind of oddly.
I think that's right. I don't think they wanted to just be taken advantage of. You know what I mean? But so I find it interesting that Nintendo cut off their support in 1999, but Saint Giga tried to make it last. So that means Nintendo stopped making games for this. They stopped making anything for this.
Yeah,
Saint Giga continued what they already had and continued sending it out
yeah.
because they just wanted it to last and it eventually failed.
Right. I wonder what it was sending out to then. I mean, if Nintendo cut him off with the Satellaview.
Well, they cut off support. I mean, well, they didn't cut it. Saint Giga ran the Satellaview.
Oh,
Yeah, they ran the service, but
so
Nintendo made the products.
okay, so you could still get stuff on your Super Famicom then, even after
Yes,
this. Okay,
yes. It just wasn't going to be anything new.
right. Well, yeah, I guess would have been kind of funny if Saint Giga got another big developer to do this with, and then you end up having Sony products on the Super Famicom.
That would be interesting. I
That would have made the console wars take a whole new turn.
Oh, it would have. They should have done that. I mean, imagine.
I'm sure Nintendo would develop something to block it or somehow, I don't know. But
Yeah,
that's just kind of me going off of
they
what if.
they would have tried. Nintendo would have tried to halt that.
Right.
But yeah, So that's basically what the Satellaview was just a satellite service
Right.
for it. So you had that. Now the interesting thing are the games and the BSX cartridge. Let me talk about the BSX cartridge first.
Okay.
The it acted as the operating system, right? But it played like a game. You controlled a character. You made your character. It was kind of like your avatar. You
Oh,
chose a male or a female avatar, and you put in your name.
yeah.
And you walked around like a virtual town kind of
R-
thing.
right. So yeah, I kind of get the setup.
Yeah, and the buildings in the town were like the
The
selections of
main
the menu.
menu. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you translate it, the BSX cartridge, the full name of it is BSX, the story of the town whose name has been stolen.
Hmm.
Horribly long name. But that's the town that you're in, is like this town whose name has been stolen. That's the name of the town.
Wow.
Yeah, really original. But I think the interesting thing is, so you played around this town and it had a bunch of like, I don't know, Easter eggs, I guess you could find. Like you could talk to some of the trees and talk to the people, right?
And the hills had eyes, right?
I
Sorry.
don't know about that.
They did in Mario.
That is
Sorry,
true.
sorry. I'm sorry. Continue.
But so like one of the games that they sent out for the Satellaview, or a couple of them anyway, were games based on this town, where it kind of gave the town like an adventure to go through,
Yeah.
and it worked like an RPG like adventure through this town,
Hmm.
which I think is even more interesting.
Yeah.
So you not only played the menu became the game.
Huh.
So the games are kind of like the gems in this. The
Yeah.
games are so unique. Those are unique. The I put some games worth noting on my list
Yeah.
that I kind of wish I could play. I think they would be great on on like the virtual console
Yeah.
because they would have a following. They made an Excite Bike game, but they took a lot of the games that they took and they redid them. They remade them for the Satellaview.
Yeah.
So one of the ones worth noting is Excite Bike Bun Bun Mario Battle Stadium.
Okay. Actually, before you even told me about this thing, I've actually seen a picture of that somewhere.
Have you really?
Like a long time ago. Like maybe about 5, 6 years ago, I found a picture of like Excite Bike with Mario characters online.
Oh wow, interesting,
I might was looking through ROMs, I don't know, but
interesting. But yeah, this game, I mean, I think it's so interesting that it's kind of like a Mario Kart type of thing,
yeah,
with you do have like power ups and stuff that you can get, but it is Excite Bike. You're still racing that little Excite Bike up and down these hills.
yeah. You know, never mind. It would just get a little bit off topic.
No, go ahead.
Something I never understood in Excite Bike. there was always that little temp bar down at the bottom of the
Oh, I
screen, I think.
know.
I'm sure there was a way to shift in this game, but I could never figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
That
I
that
will
thing
I
that was the downfall of me.
I want someone to tell me what that was. So please, just if there's a way for you to comment or something, please tell me about that.
I would like to know as well because I could never figure that out.
Is it just for looks, or is there actually like a shift button or something you gotta watch?
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, okay, let's go back to your games you noted.
So, I would love to play that Excitebike game. I think it would be fantastic with multiple people. I I don't know. I love the premise of it. I think it would be really fun. I think it's a great idea. I think they should have pursued it more. I hate that these games that they made for the Satellaview are lost. I mean, Nintendo has them somewhere out in their archives, but
Yeah, I would think.
they're not going to dig them out.
Well,
They might,
they
but
they would, but
there has to be enough
like
support. Yeah.
yeah, support and just hey, maybe if we tell enough people about this, maybe or is boycott the right word? Boycott Nintendo to release these games on Virtual Console?
Or like a petition or whatever.
Right.
I think they should. I think these games do deserve the light of day. So, they made Legend of Zelda. It's called Legend of Zelda and then Map 2.
Oh,
So there's Map 1 and Map 2.
whoops, I was looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, it's basically the first Legend of Zelda game, except for it's upgraded for this Super Famicom, so it's got 16-bit graphics.
I seen pictures of that ROM too.
Did you?
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting of this is it was the regular Legend of Zelda game, but it was one of those ones that you had to play at the certain time. You had 2 hour or an hour to go through this game, to go through certain sections of the game. You had to find like 2 pieces of the Triforce or whatever
Yeah.
in 1 hour,
Huh.
and each like day or week or whatever.
You could continue.
Yes. And it had like voiceovers for the characters and orchestrated music. And it even had like little animated cutscenes.
Huh.
Yeah. And this was all for the first Legend of Zelda. They like remade it. So they had the map 1, which was basically the original map. I mean, it was a condensed version so that you could get through it within an hour.
Yeah.
And there was a map 2 that they released later. They did another like viewing of this or whatever, or another stream of this,
Yeah.
where they did the second map. And the dungeons are interesting because the dungeons spelled out either Saint Giga in the first map
Oh.
or Nintendo in the second map,
I see.
which is interesting. But I think the most notable game that they did for this, and there's a lot of people who have talked about it. I know there is. And it's The Legend of Zelda Ancient Stone Tablets. They did another game, which was, I forget the name of it. It was basically Link to the Past redone for the Satellaview. Now, Ancient Stone Tablets is almost a direct sequel to A Link to the Past.
What do you mean by almost?
It is set like a couple years ahead of the ending of A Link to the Past.
Uh,
So,
I,
die-hard Nintendo fans probably want to listen up if you don't already know about, or die-hard Legend of Zelda fans probably want to listen up if you've never heard of this. It takes place couple years after A Link to the Past. Your character from the BSX menu, your little avatar,
yeah.
accidentally gets sucked up into Hyrule, right? And Zelda finds you. Zelda's been having like horrible dreams or whatever, nightmares, and finds you. And since they can't find Link, right?
Yeah.
She has these nightmares of something that's bad, that something bad's gonna happen, and you end up being the one who can solve it. So you play as your avatar in Hyrule, going to defeat Ganon again, which I
Oh,
think is so interesting. And I think that's probably
where's the quality of Avatar games nowadays like that?
I know, right? The Avatar games on the 360 didn't do so good, I don't think. But yeah, and I mean, that's awesome that it used your avatar, I think, because it's a whole other type of story.
Yeah.
But it is set in like the same type of world as A Link to the Past. It's got the same graphics, same like art style or whatever.
Right.
And so it's almost an honest sequel.
I was listening to the story hoping to find not hoping to find, but I thought maybe that there might have been a connection to this, some of this and some of the do you know of the new Legend of Zelda uh on the 3DS?
I've seen the name. I haven't really looked into it.
A Link Between Worlds, I think it's what it's called.
Yeah, yeah, I
It's
remember
it's
seeing that.
it's supposed to be like 6 months or something after the original Link to the Past.
Really
Yeah. So
interesting.
I thought maybe after hearing that, there might have been some connection Nintendo might have used to add to a similarity to the game, but
Huh.
I've honestly never played it, and it doesn't sound like there's really any link in that story, but it would have been interesting.
That would have been cool. Huh. I didn't know that was supposed to be like a sequel or whatever. Or
Yeah,
6 months after.
yeah,
Interesting.
it's something like that.
Hmm. That's cool. Huh.
See, I was trying to play detective and see if I could find a link there, but no luck.
There, there was no Link to the Past. I don't know.
Ha ha ha.
But yeah, I mean, the Satellaview had these great games. I mean, there was um, I think it was what was it, Chrono Trigger or something?
Yeah,
They had a remake of Chrono Trigger, or that was like a sequel. They had a bunch of games that they made, they redid for it, told the story in a different way, or used that universe to make another game. And I mean, these are something that they could, I think, you know, people would like to see, or I think it'd
yeah,
be cool if they got out there.
yeah. It sounds like a foolproof plan that would have been great, but
They should have stuck with it. I mean, I think they should have tried harder to make it work.
and with the advance in technology, who knows what
Yeah, who knows how?
could be going on?
Yeah, I mean, imagine if it was still around, what it would have evolved to. I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah, I'd say
I think you.
check.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say check it out and look up these games. And if you can get it to work, I mean, ROMs are the only way that you can play them.
uh, if you're very rich, go buy one because it will probably be worth a lot of money in 20 years or something.
If
So
you're really rich and speak Japanese, try to find them. I mean, they do have the memory packs that do have the games saved on them that you can find that are still playable. So I'd say check them out. See, maybe people will want to see these games. Maybe they will try to get Nintendo to bring them to the Virtual Console or something.
yeah.
Who knows?
Well, people's words do have a lot of effect.
They do.
So speak up, people, and speak your mind.
Maybe we'll get to see some lost games in a new light. Well,
Is
I
that
think
is that pretty much everything about this?
I think so. I think you want to move on to number 2 on our lists.
Oh, you know I do. Um,
I
who went first last time?
think it was you.
Then
So,
carry on with your spotlight.
all right. Mine is a game, but it's not necessarily playing the game. Okay, here's what happened. It does involve Need for Speed Underground 2.
Nice.
Yes, I really wanted that game. It looked cool. I played it at a friend's house. I wanted to play through it, and we were kind of tight on money, I guess, and we were trying to find it like cheaper, I guess. So we were looking on eBay, and we found one, and we bought it. Right? It was a
Nice.
really cheap version. We bought it. I wait like a week, I'm waiting, and I really want this game. And it comes, I'm like, awesome. I open it up, and I'm like, this case kind of looks a little funky, right?
Yeah.
But I don't care. I open it up, I put it in my console, turn it on, hit play, nothing happens.
Oh
Disc read
no.
error, right? I
Yeah.
look at the back of the disc, no scratches, put it back in, disc read error. So I'm like, what is going on?
The moment your PS2 broke.
No,
Oh.
it's not. I look at the case again, and I find something a little interesting. And I find PAL instead of NTSC.
Oh.
I bought a European copy of the game without knowing it. So it was region locked, and I was not able to play it. And I don't know, that moment just sticks out in my mind because I never ended up getting it for myself.
Right.
I was stuck with this copy that I couldn't play. But it was a fantastic deal, but I couldn't play it.
Right. What did you say the deal was, or did you?
I don't remember what it was. I just remember it was really cheap.
Lesson learned. You get what you pay for.
That's true. Ever since then, if you're buying a game online, make sure it's compatible with your system. Make sure it's compatible with your country, because apparently that's a thing.
Actually, I think aren't a lot of current systems like going unregion lock now?
Some are, yeah. I think I've heard of some doing that. I know some are sticking with it,
Right.
but yeah, I think some are.
Alright, so I guess it's my turn to give my moment then.
Well, yeah, go
Well,
right ahead.
well, here goes. My moment involves a game called Fatal. Well, that's a butcher of. I already butchered that word. Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly. That is a survival horror game. It was released obviously on the PS2, but I think there was an Xbox version that was a director's cut. This game is pretty much follows kind of the formula of all other survival horror games. Kind of like the slow pace of Silent Hill. You don't actually fight monsters. You use this special well, maybe the camera isn't the thing that was so special, but I know you collected a specific type of film and you would take pictures and kind of trap ghosts in a camera like thing. At least going off of my memory here, so that might not be exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But it was also the type of game where you walk around, get this, get that, find out this, use a key on this, and just to progress through the game. It wasn't really it wasn't really action paced.
Hmm.
Notice how I changed my words there, but yeah. Let's see what else about the game. The main characters were it kind of followed kind of characters like the Grudge movie and stuff had in it. How their kind of horror stories were kind of all kind of weird compared to what us in America are used to.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it basically kind of had that effect as far as storytelling.
Interesting.
I know the main character you played as, you're basically chasing down your twin sister throughout, at least as far as I played, which I only played about 2-3 hours maybe into the game.
Mm.
But now to my moment, since I've been prolonging it. But my moment involves my dad, which he is not your gamer type. What he does for fun is he watches movies and normally does a lot of outside stuff.
Hmm.
So, first surprise, a family member let my dad borrow Riven, which is the sequel to The Mist. Now, although that has nothing to really do with my moment, it was kind of surprising because, like I said, my dad does not play video games at all, at least not to my knowledge. Although I have heard that my uncle and my dad played Dragon Warrior back in the day, which ironically we was talking about that game in this episode. But I've only heard my uncle say that, so I don't officially know really.
Yeah.
And my dad, anyways, he actually played a little bit of Riven. I mean, I'm sure he didn't get that far into it, but he
The
did
fact
play.
that he played it. And...
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because it was more of a exploring type game.
Hmm.
So maybe that slow pace kind of fit him well. Anyways, to my moment. Basically, I was playing Fatal Frame in my room, and all of a sudden, my dad walked in. He sat on my bed, or sat back on my bed, and just started watching me play through the game. and he started kind of pointing out things, trying to help me, even though maybe what he was saying wasn't exactly something you could do in the game. But since he never played it before, or since he never played video games before, he was still trying to just point out things that
Yeah.
you might be able to do, which he watched me for about 15, 20 minutes, and I believe he did it a second time as well.
Hmm.
Basically, that moment in itself kind of sticks out in my mind because we never had that typical kind of video game moment as a father-son type thing, since my dad doesn't really play video games,
Yeah.
and that's why that was so special.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I've never really. I mean, I went to your house a lot, and I've never seen your dad really do much with technology in general.
Other than his, yeah,
Yeah, other than DVDs.
right. um, it's really hard to pinpoint my dad's hobby, really, as far as fun goes.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he will all up deny that having fun is evil and such, but he doesn't say it serious, like he says it in kind of a sarcastic, trying to be funny way. I mean, he does go to church and all that, and he's into it all, but he knows that fun in general does not equal sin, so, but I will not draw that into conversation right now, so
Yeah.
I'll just cut that off right there. But yeah, that I just wanted to share that moment with you, and since it was so out of the ordinary, it sticks out in my mind. So that is why I that is why that moment that's why I wanted to share it.
Well, that's cool.
And that'd be my moment. So I on to the next thing, right?
Sounds good to me.
All right, so where does this leave us at next?
This leaves us with the
Next segment?
yeah, if you wanna do you wanna go into the next segment or you wanna cut off the
Hmm.
this part here?
Yeah, if you guys haven't noticed yet, we kind of decided to put this into parts because we are a lot more long-winded than what we were thinking it would be. But it's okay. We enjoy talking about this stuff, and we just want to share everything with you that we can.
And we're gonna try to do this monthly.
Yeah,
So we figured parts would be okay.
yeah. This
It's
is
it's gonna be 3 parts or so. And
probably yeah,
yeah. Uh
but
we figured that it'd be nice if you really like it and want to listen to it all, you have a nice long bit that you can listen to. Or, one a week in
yeah,
between this month.
yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know if I really need to point this out or not, but we're aiming for the first of each month to upload the whole podcast. And that's kind of another reason we're making these kind of lengthy to keep to keep your appetite over the month, I guess.
yeah.
We want to give you a nice bit of content
Yeah, we want
for only a once a month show.
mhm. So that's what we're planning on doing, and we'll see you in the next part.